Lieutenant Aaron Kale stood at the observation deck of the Concordance, the Zenith Collective's imposing capital station. The view of the dying star, a swirling, molten mass of fading orange, was oddly hypnotic, a reminder of the fragility of even the grandest cosmic entities. Humanity's fragility had been the unspoken topic of every conversation here since their probationary admission into the collective. As far as the Zenith species were concerned, humans were an anomaly to be tolerated, not embraced. Aaron's comm device vibrated sharply against his wrist, cutting through his thoughts. "Kale here," he said, his tone clipped. The face of Commander Elias Trent, stationed on Earth, filled the holographic projection. His usually calm expression was strained. "We have a situation," Trent said. "It's bad, Aaron. Real bad." "What kind of bad?" Aaron asked, straightening. "Thousands of children," Trent began, his voice faltering. "They're gone. Overnight. No signs of entry, no forced abductions. Just vanished." Aaron's chest tightened. "Vanished? All of them? At the same time?" Trent nodded grimly. "It's not just Earth. Reports are coming in from colonies on Mars, Europa, even the outposts near Proxima Centauri. All human settlements. And it gets worse. Several alien colonies in the same sectors went completely dark. No communication, no activity." A cold chill swept through Aaron. "Alien colonies too? Does the collective know?" "They're already calling emergency meetings. But the chatter I've picked up," Trent hesitated. "They're blaming us. Saying humanity's involved." Aaron clenched his jaw. "Let me handle it." He disconnected the call and turned, marching toward the station's council chambers. The chamber was as sterile and austere as the rest of the station, polished black floors, silver columns, and a holographic dome that displayed the current galactic map. Aaron entered to find the council in disarray. Representatives of the Zenith Collective's most powerful species argued among themselves, their voices overlapping. Veltrix Arganes, the chief arbiter, stood at the center. With their elongated frame and smooth, metallic skin, Veltrix was an intimidating figure. Their voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Order!" Silence fell, though the tension in the room was palpable. Veltrix turned their piercing, unblinking gaze toward Aaron. "Lieutenant Kale, your species seems to find itself at the center of an alarming situation. Care to explain?" Aaron stepped forward, refusing to flinch under Veltrix's scrutiny. "I just received the reports myself. Thousands of children across human settlements have disappeared. Alien colonies near those settlements are also affected. This isn't isolated, and it's not just about humanity." A reptilian ambassador hissed, their forked tongue flicking out. "Convenient that your species is at the epicenter." Aaron took a steadying breath. "Convenient? We've lost children, our most vulnerable, while your colonies have gone silent. Whatever this is, it's not human-made. The energy surges detected before the disappearances match no known human technology. If we're going to solve this, we need cooperation, not baseless accusations." Veltrix raised a hand to silence the murmurs. "These energy surges," they said, their voice calculated. "Do you have proof?" "Yes," Aaron replied. "The surges were recorded by human deep space observatories and matched against Zenith archives. The patterns are too precise to be natural phenomena. I believe this is external, possibly the work of an unknown force." Veltrix narrowed their eyes. "Unknown forces do not concern us. What concerns us is the destabilization of the collective. If humanity is found complicit, the consequences will be severe." Aaron's stomach churned, but he met Veltrix's gaze. "Humanity will cooperate fully. But I request access to all Zenith data on these surges. If we're going to find the missing, we need every resource available." Veltrix paused, their metallic face unreadable. "We will consider your request." The meeting ended with no resolution, only lingering hostility. As the representatives filed out, Aaron caught Veltrix's gaze once more. Their expression betrayed nothing, but something in their posture felt deliberate, calculated. Back in his quarters, Aaron activated his terminal. The walls came alive with holographic displays of charts, colony maps, and the eerie energy surge patterns. He tapped a secure line to Dr. Mira Elson, a human scientist stationed on Luna Base. Myra's face appeared, her sharp features tense. Aaron. I've been waiting for your call. You heard? Of course. The data's already coming in, and it's disturbing. Mira leaned closer, her voice dropping. The energy surges you mentioned, they're not random. They're highly concentrated and identical to signatures found near a derelict ship humanity stumbled upon years ago. The one the collective forbade us from studying. Aaron frowned. The one in the uncharted zone? I thought it was just a broken relic. Mira shook her head. The readings suggest otherwise. That ship isn't dead, Aaron. It's active. And if I'm right, it's connected to what's happening now. Aaron felt a knot of unease forming in his gut. Why didn't the collective investigate it back then? Because they didn't want us near it, Mira said bitterly. They feared what we'd find. Or what it might find in us. Aaron leaned back, processing the implications. Do we have access to the ship's location? I have the coordinates, Mira replied. But Aaron, if you go after it, you'll be acting without collective approval. And Veltrix won't hesitate to make an example out of you. Aaron nodded slowly. I don't have a choice. If this ship is tied to the disappearances, it's our only lead. Mira hesitated, then nodded. I'll send the data to your secure channel. Be careful, Aaron. I always am, he said, disconnecting the call. The next day, Aaron stood in the station's hangar, overseeing preparations for his covert mission. He had pulled together a small, trusted team: Elias Trent, Mira Elson, and an alien defector named Zwientar, a former Zenith operative who had grown disillusioned with the collective's arrogance. Zwientar, a sinewy creature with shimmering, translucent skin, approached Aaron. This mission is madness, human, they said, their voice a melodic hum. You risked everything. I risk everything because there's everything to lose, Aaron replied. Zwientar tilted their head, studying him. You're kind, so impulsive. Yet, strangely, it is why I trust you. Aaron gave a faint smile. Let's hope that trust isn't misplaced. The team boarded the scout ship, and as they prepared to launch, Aaron couldn't shake the weight of Veltrix's warning, or the cryptic mystery of the derelict ship waiting in uncharted space. As the engines roared to life and the hangar doors opened to the abyss, Aaron glanced at the holographic map projected before him. Somewhere out there, the answers lay hidden. And he would find them. The scout ship slipped into uncharted space, its engines humming softly in the oppressive silence of the void. Aaron Kales sat in the cockpit, his gaze fixed on the glowing navigation display. The derelict ship loomed ahead, suspended in the shadow of a dying star. Its silhouette was angular and jagged, as though it had been carved from obsidian rather than built. Strange, faint lights pulsed along its surface, like veins carrying some lifeblood through the ship's ancient structure. Dr. Mira Elson leaned over his shoulder, studying the display. It's bigger than I imagined, she murmured. Bigger and older, Zwientar added from the back, their translucent skin glimmering faintly in the dim cabin light. The design, it doesn't match anything in the Zenith archives. Not even in myths. That's because the collective wanted to bury it, Aaron said. He adjusted the ship's trajectory. But whatever this thing is, it hasn't stayed buried. Elias Trent, the engineer, tapped away at his console. Energy readings are faint but active. Whatever powers that thing hasn't completely run out. And I'm guessing it doesn't have a welcome aboard mat. Let's not wait for an invitation, Aaron said. Mira, are you picking up anything? She frowned at her tablet. Still analyzing. The energy signature matches the surges from the colonies. Same intensity, same frequency. Whatever took the children, it started here. She glanced at him, her expression grim. We need to get inside. Docking with the derelict ship was precarious. Its surface was uneven, bristling with antennae-like structures and sharp edges that seemed to defy physics. Aaron expertly maneuvered the scout ship into a small docking port, barely large enough to accommodate them. The airlock hissed open, revealing an interior that was simultaneously alien and unnervingly familiar. The walls were smooth and reflective, like black glass, but they pulsed faintly with a strange light that ebbed and flowed in rhythm. "Stay close," Aaron said, gripping his plasma pistol tightly. The group stepped into the corridor, their footsteps echoing in the hollow expanse. Mira scanned the walls with her handheld device. "The material is alive, well, partially. It's a form of programmable matter, but it's reacting to us. Like it knows we're here." "That's comforting," Elias muttered, eyeing a series of jagged symbols etched into the walls. "Anyone read ancient death threats?" Zwayantar studied the symbols. "These are not warnings. They are instructions. Ritualistic, perhaps. The Voker believed in ascension through understanding. These markings may relate to their experiments." "Experiments?" Mira asked, her voice sharp. Zwayantar nodded solemnly. "Legends speak of the Voker harvesting the emotional and mental patterns of other species. They believed emotions held the key to surviving a great calamity they foresaw." "What calamity?" Aaron asked. "No one knows. But the Voker vanished long before their predictions could be proven true or false." The corridor led to a massive chamber. The walls were lined with oblong pods, each one encased in a faintly glowing membrane. Aaron approached cautiously, peering into one of the pods. His breath caught in his throat. Inside was a humanoid figure, suspended in a viscous liquid. Its features were distorted, as though mid-transition between species. The eyes were large and black, the skin pale and translucent. It was neither fully alien nor entirely human. "God," Elias whispered. What is this?" Mira knelt by another pod, her scanner beeping wildly. "These are hybrids. The Voker were splicing genetic material, testing how different species' emotional and mental capacities could be combined. This one..." She hesitated. "This one has human DNA." Aaron felt his stomach churn. "They were experimenting on us?" "Not just us," Mira said. "But we're part of their equation now. The energy surges, they weren't just abductions. They were extractions." Zwayantar's voice was low. "The children. They were taken to serve as templates. To fuel this ship's revival." As they moved deeper into the ship, the air grew heavier, charged with an almost oppressive energy. They entered what appeared to be the control room, a cavernous space dominated by a pulsating, organic structure at its center. It resembled a heart, massive and alien, connected to the walls by thick, glowing tendrils. "This is it," Mira said, her voice trembling. "The core of the ship. If we can access its data, we might figure out what's driving it, and how to stop it." Elias approached a nearby console, its surface covered in shifting symbols. "This thing doesn't have a user manual. Give me a second." "Be quick," Aaron said, scanning the room. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Elias tapped at the console, and the symbols rearranged themselves in response. A low hum filled the room, growing louder with each passing second. Suddenly, the walls lit up, projecting holograms of humanoid figures. They were flickering, incomplete, their faces distorted. "Records," Mira said, stepping closer. "These are memories." The holograms depicted scenes of individuals from various species, each subjected to intense emotional tests: fear, grief, rage. The figures screamed and writhed, their torment etched into the holographic air. "This is how they learned," Zwayantar said softly. "They believed emotions were the key to evolution, but they didn't understand them. So they broke others apart, trying to find answers." One hologram froze, its distorted face turning toward Aaron. A voice, deep and metallic, filled the chamber. "Your kind burns too brightly. Emotion. Instinct. A fire uncontrolled. It must be tempered." Aaron stepped back, his pulse racing. "Who are you?" "We are the Voker," the voice said. "And you are the Crucible." The tendrils connected to the heart-like structure suddenly convulsed, and the room shook violently. Alarms blared as the core began to glow brighter, its energy surging. "We've triggered something," Mira shouted. Elias scrambled to his feet. "Defensive systems are coming online. We've got to move!" As if on cue, sections of the walls detached, reshaping into spindly, insect-like constructs. The machines moved with eerie precision, their limbs glinting in the dim light. "Run!" Aaron barked, firing his plasma pistol at the nearest construct. The shot tore through it, but two more emerged to take its place. The team bolted down the corridor, the constructs in relentless pursuit. Mira clutched a data pad tightly, her face pale. "I managed to extract some files. It's not much, but it's something. That'll have to do," Aaron shouted. They reached the scout ship and scrambled aboard, Elias sealing the airlock just as one of the constructs slammed against it. The ship's engines roared to life, propelling them away from the derelict vessel. Aaron collapsed into his seat, breathing hard. He glanced at Mira. "What did you get?" She hesitated, then displayed the data on her tablet. "Coordinates. More ships like this one, all across the galaxy." The implications hit Aaron like a freight train. This wasn't over. It was only beginning. The scout ship hurtled through the dark, silent expanse of space, its engines emitting a steady hum as if to steady the crew's nerves. Aaron Kale gripped the arms of his chair, his thoughts racing. Every revelation from the derelict ship clawed at his mind, the truth unraveling faster than he could process. They weren't facing an enemy, they were facing an ideology, ancient and unrelenting. Dr. Mira Elson, seated beside him, stared at her data pad, the faint blue light reflecting off her tense features. "The files I pulled are incomplete, but the coordinates are consistent. These ships aren't isolated relics. They're a network, and they're waking up." Aaron turned to her. "Waking up for what? What's their endgame?" Her fingers moved across the screen, navigating through fragments of alien text and encoded symbols. "From what I can decipher, the Volker believed the galaxy was headed toward a great silence. They saw emotion as the key to survival, but only if it could be harnessed. Their experiments weren't about learning, they were about control. About using emotion as a weapon and a shield." Elias Trent leaned against the bulkhead, his expression grim. "And what happens to the species they're experimenting on? We already saw what's in those pods. They're not asking for volunteers." Zwiantar, perched near the ship's rear console, spoke in a low, resonant tone. "The Volker saw other species as tools, their emotions as resources. To them, individuality is chaos, and chaos cannot survive calamity." Aaron's jaw tightened. "Well, they didn't survive either, did they? Something wiped them out. Or they evolved," Zwiantar said ominously, their translucent skin shimmering faintly. "Perhaps they became something else." Hours later, the team convened in the scout ship's cramped briefing room. Mira had projected the recovered data onto a holographic display. The coordinates for the Volker network stretched across the galaxy like a spider's web, with each point representing a dormant ship or facility. Elias folded his arms. "If this network activates fully, every species in the galaxy could be at risk. What's stopping them from abducting entire populations instead of just children?" "Scale," Mira said. "The surges that powered the abductions required immense energy. They're ramping up slowly, but once the network is fully online..." She trailed off, her expression dark. Aaron leaned forward. "How do we stop it?" "There's a central point," Mira said, highlighting a distant system on the map. "This hub controls the network. If we take it offline, we might be able to disrupt the ships before they fully activate." "Sounds simple enough," Elias muttered. "Except we're one ship and 4 people, going up against an ancient species with technology we barely understand." Aaron stood, his gaze steady. "We don't have a choice. If we wait, they'll activate the network, and humanity will be the first to fall. We hit the hub, sabotage it, and shut this thing down." The journey to the hub system was perilous. Navigating uncharted space meant avoiding gravitational anomalies and dodging the occasional rogue asteroid. The closer they got to the coordinates, the more unstable the space around them became. The stars appeared dimmer, their light distorted by an invisible force. Zhuantar monitored the ship's systems, their normally calm demeanor showing signs of unease. "This region is wrong," they said softly. "The space itself feels altered, as if the Voker twisted reality to suit their purpose." Elias frowned, glancing at his console. "Instruments are glitching. Gravity's fluctuating in weird patterns. Whatever's at the center of this network, it's powerful." Aaron remained focused on the viewport. In the distance, a massive structure came into view, eclipsing everything around it. The hub wasn't a ship, it was a station, vast and alien in design. It resembled a web spun from black metal, with glowing orbs of energy pulsing at its intersections. "Get us closer," Aaron ordered, his voice steady despite the rising tension. The scout ship docked at the station's edge, attaching itself to a small access point. As the team disembarked, the air around them seemed charged with electricity, a faint hum resonating in their bones. The station's interior was a maze of twisting corridors and cavernous chambers, each one bathed in a dim, pulsating light. Mira scanned the environment with her handheld device. "The energy readings here are off the charts. The entire station is alive, every system interconnected. If we disrupt the core, we disrupt everything." "Then let's find it," Aaron said, leading the way. As they delved deeper into the station, the team encountered more of the Voker's creations. Pods lined the walls, similar to those on the derelict ship, but these were active. The figures inside twitched and convulsed, their features constantly shifting. Elias shook his head. "It's like they're trying to create something perfect. But it's wrong. This isn't evolution, it's mutilation." "They don't see it that way," Zhuantar said. "To the Voker, perfection is uniformity. Individuality is an obstacle to survival." Aaron's voice was firm. "Well, they're about to learn that individuality fights back." The team reached the core chamber, a massive space dominated by an enormous crystalline structure suspended in midair. Tendrils of energy extended from the core, connecting to every part of the station. The hum of power was deafening. Mira approached the core cautiously, her scanner beeping wildly. "This is it. If we overload the energy conduits, we can trigger a chain reaction. It'll take out the entire station." Elias was already at work, connecting his tools to the nearby consoles. "Give me 5 minutes." "You've got 2, Aaron said, his eyes scanning the room. The air grew colder, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber. "You would destroy what you do not understand." The holographic figure of a Voker appeared before them, its form flickering and distorted. Its unblinking gaze seemed to pierce through them. "You believe your emotions make you strong," it said. "But they are your weakness. They are chaos." Aaron stepped forward, his jaw clenched. "Emotions are what make us human. They're not a weakness, they're the reason we fight. And we'll fight you." The figure tilted its head, as if contemplating his words. "You cannot fight the inevitable. You will burn." The core began to glow brighter, the tendrils of energy writhing as if in anger. The station shook violently, and more insect-like constructs emerged from the walls, their spindly limbs glinting ominously. "Aaron!" Elias shouted. "I need more time!" Aaron fired his plasma pistol at the advancing constructs, the shots tearing through their metallic bodies. Mira joined him, her face set with determination. Zhuantar moved with inhuman grace, their own weapons slicing through the attackers with precision. "Almost there!" Elias yelled. The Voker's hologram flickered, its voice growing louder. "You will fail. The silence will consume you." Aaron ignored it, focusing on the battle. "Elias, now would be good." With a final tap of his console, Elias shouted. "Done! Move!" The team sprinted for the exit as the core began to overload, its light intensifying. The station shuddered violently, pieces of its structure collapsing around them. They reached the scout ship just as the core erupted in a blinding flash. The explosion consumed the station, its tendrils of energy collapsing in on themselves. The scout ship rocketed away, its occupants watching as the hub disintegrated into nothingness. Mira slumped in her seat, exhausted but relieved. We did it. The network's broken. For now. Aaron stared out the viewport, his expression grim. For now isn't good enough. They're still out there. And they're not done. The silence that followed wasn't comforting. It was the calm before the next storm.